It was supposed to be just another day at an upscale hotel, but what happened next shocked everyone. A well-dressed black man walked into the lobby, confident and polite, hoping to book a room. But instead of a warm welcome, he was met with cold stares and dismissive attitudes. The staff, judging him solely by his appearance, claimed there were no rooms available, even though the hotel was nearly empty. Humiliated but calm, he left without causing a scene. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The very next day, the same man walked through those glass doors again, but this time, everything was different. The staff rushed to greet him with forced smiles, not realizing he was no longer just a guest. He was now the new owner of the hotel. What happened in those 24 hours that changed everything? Stay tuned to find out how he turned rejection into the ultimate comeback. The man, whose name was Marcus, had always faced discrimination. Growing up, he worked harder than most, determined to prove his worth in a world that often overlooked him. He started from nothing, building his empire one step at a time. Through years of dedication, Marcus became a billionaire, known for his sharp business mind and ability to turn the most impossible situations into success stories. Yet, despite his wealth and achievements, society still treated him as less than, especially in spaces like the hotel he had just visited. When he walked out that day, the rejection stung, but he wasn't one to back down. What many didn't know was that Marcus had a plan in mind, something bigger than anyone could have imagined. The hotel, with its history of exclusivity and snobbery, was about to become the stage for a powerful lesson. But could he really turn things around in just one day? What was Marcus's next move? The next day, Marcus stepped into the hotel lobby once more. This time, he didn't come as a guest. As he walked towards the front desk, the staff, unaware of his identity, tried their best to appear accommodating, offering him a seat and asking how they could assist him. They had no idea that he was the one who had just bought the place overnight. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the hotel's owner, a man named Richard Langley, was in his office fuming. He had heard about the incident with Marcus the day before, but he was too proud to apologize or take responsibility. Langley had built his fortune on exclusivity, offering a luxury experience for only the right people. He believed that people like Marcus, no matter how wealthy, didn't belong in his world. To him, this was about power, about keeping his hotel as a symbol of status. Langley had no clue that Marcus was about to dismantle that world. As Marcus looked around, he could feel the tension building. He wasn't just out for revenge. This was bigger. He had spent years carefully calculating his next move, waiting for the perfect opportunity to break down the walls of elitism. But what Marcus didn't expect was the deep-rooted hostility some of the staff had toward change. Some of them weren't ready to let go of their long-held beliefs, and they were already plotting against him, determined to protect the status quo. Would Marcus' vision for transformation survive the battle that was brewing beneath the surface? As the day went on, Marcus quietly observed the staff's reactions. Some smiled nervously, others exchanged glances, and a few gave him cold stares, clearly still skeptical about his presence. It was clear that not everyone was ready to embrace the change he represented. In the back office, Langley paced, his anger boiling over. He refused to let someone like Marcus control his legacy. His empire had been built on keeping people like him out, and Langley wasn't about to let a simple billionaire upend everything he had worked for. But Marcus wasn't just fighting for a seat at the table. He was there to break it down completely. With his legal team working around the clock, the hotel was now under new ownership. Yet, Langley was pulling every string he could to reclaim control. Behind closed doors, he began planning a legal battle that could stretch for months, maybe even years. But Marcus had already thought of that. As the clock ticked closer to the evening, Marcus met with his new staff, many of whom were eager for the changes he promised. They spoke of new policies, more inclusive services, and a shift towards valuing all guests equally. Yet, Marcus knew that behind the smiles, there was a storm brewing. Some of the older staff members weren't as ready to let go of the status quo, and their loyalty to Langley ran deep. Secretly, they were plotting to sabotage the changes Marcus had envisioned. The street was packed, the usual city noise humming in the background, when suddenly, all eyes turned to one heated exchange. A middle-aged woman, frustration etched on her face, pointed a finger at a black man and spat out the words, "Go back to Africa." Gasps rippled through the crowd. People paused mid-step, their conversations falling silent. The man, calm, composed, locked eyes with her. But instead of anger, something else flickered in his expression. For a moment, the tension was unbearable. Was he going to lash out? Walk away? The woman stood firm, arms crossed, waiting for a fight. But what happened next caught everyone, including her, completely off guard. His response was so powerful, so unexpected, that the entire crowd stood frozen. And then something incredible happened. Stay tuned, because this is one moment you won't want to miss. The crowd held its breath, waiting for his reaction. The man, tall and confident, tilted his head slightly, studying the woman as if trying to understand where her anger came from. He didn't yell. He didn't insult her back. Instead, a small, knowing smile played at the corner of his lips. The woman shifted uncomfortably, as if she hadn't expected anything but rage. People around them whispered. Some pulled out their phones, recording every second. Others looked uneasy, unsure if they should step in. The city's usual rhythm, cars honking, distant laughter, the hum of conversations, faded into the background. Who was this man? Why was he so calm? And why did it feel like he was about to say something that would change everything? The woman, still defensive, opened her mouth to speak again, but before she could, he finally took a step forward. His words, when they came, left everyone hanging on the edge. The man took a slow breath, his gaze steady. "Africa," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Do you even know where your ancestors came from?" The question hung in the air, thick with meaning. The woman blinked, caught off guard. She had expected anger, a heated exchange, but not this. The crowd murmured, shifting closer, sensing something deeper unfolding. A young woman near the front whispered to her friend, "He's got a point." An older man folded his arms, watching closely. A teenager recording on his phone zoomed in, knowing this moment was about to go viral. The woman scoffed, shaking her head, but there was hesitation in her eyes now. "This is my country," she muttered, but her voice lacked the same sharpness. The man took another step forward, his expression unreadable. "You ever wonder how we all got here?" he asked. And just like that, the tension in the air grew even heavier. The woman's lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't look away. The crowd had grown, their attention locked on the man who now stood firm, his presence unshaken. His words weren't loud, but they carried weight. "You talk about this country like it belongs to you alone," he said, his voice steady. "But history tells a different story." The murmurs in the crowd grew louder. A man in a business suit frowned, arms crossed. A mother with her child on her hip watched with quiet intensity. Even a group of teenagers, normally distracted by their phones, seemed glued to the moment. The woman's hands balled into fists at her sides. "I know my history," she shot back. "I was born here. My family built this country." The man nodded slowly, as if he had been expecting that answer. Then, with a quiet certainty that sent chills through the air, he said, "So did mine." Silence. The weight of those 3 words settled over the street like a storm cloud about to break. The woman's face twitched, as if his words had struck something deeper than she wanted to admit. The crowd waited, hanging on to every second of silence. Then she laughed, a short, forced sound. "Oh, please," she scoffed, shaking her head. "That's not the same." But the man didn't flinch. He took another step closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "Isn't it?" he asked. "Who do you think built the roads, the buildings, the economy that gave your family a future here?" His voice remained calm, but there was something unshakable in it. "My ancestors' hands shaped this country just as much as yours did, maybe more."